Hello, I'm Jill Tipping, and joining us today is Judy Hess, CEO of Copperleaf. The culture of an organization is so important. Judy, as a company grows and scales, what happens to the culture? Does it need to change?
I'm like a huge advocate of culture. I think culture powers Copperleaf, or culture powers the company. Culture really helps people be the best that they can be. We are very intentional about culture at Copperleaf, and it's about owning that culture, every single person in the company owning it and doing it. But I believe that it should be co-created and owned by the entire team. My tenet is that every single person in the company has to be involved in defining the culture. If you want buy-in, people have to see part of themselves in that culture, and they have to feel like they contributed to create it. And it has to help you define how you'll be successful together as a team. You know, every team member has to understand it and practice it. I think it has to be driven by the CEO. So I spend 3 hours with every new hire to review the culture. I lead the course myself. So I think that says something to everyone to understand how important it is. And it has to be enforced every day by every person on the team. That's why you have to write more down than 5 words on the wall, because no one will understand what to do. And you have to have a course, and you have to have onboarding and re-onboarding for, you know, existing people to remind themselves of what it is and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish and how we go about accomplishing that and how we behave. If you're rewarding people that are not behaving in line with the culture, and they are your leaders, or they're getting leadership positions or whatever they're getting and accolades, when they don't follow the culture, it just won't work. You know, so you really need to make sure that you're walking the talk, that's for sure.
Have you always known the importance of culture, or was it something that you learned along the way was critical?
Started at McDonald Atweiler and Associates. And then I moved to Creo. And Creo had an intentional culture. They had it written down. They really cared about it. And it was a completely different story. And we were Creoites. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't work at Creo. We were Creoites. You know, it's like, I'm a Canadian, you know, like I feel what I feel when I'm a Canadian versus an American or something like that. And this culture at Creo was created initially by the entire team. And then I went to Copperleaf, and I think, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just take the Creo culture and we'll talk about it. We'll adjust it a little bit, and then we'll make that the culture of Copperleaf. You know, we'll change it. But so we did that. But, you know, it didn't work. And then I realized that the problem is because they didn't stop and think about it and develop it, and it didn't become part of them, and they didn't kind of co-create it. So when we were about 40 people, we all sat together and tried to figure it out. It took us about 8 months to end up where we got to, where we had 42 statements that define our culture. But once we had done that, that was the best team building exercise anyone could ever have done. It just changed the whole company when you're trying to develop a culture that you really want to impact your success going forward in your company, in your organization. You know, you can't shortchange it. It doesn't work.
Thank you, Judy, for joining us today. Culture is so important, and your knowledge so valuable.